So this moment, like every moment, is a fresh moment that has never occurred before. And so in this moment, we are this freshness. This moment of creation, this birthing, a new birth. So we welcome our experience without any history, without any past. Because in this moment, it is not necessary. We simply notice our experience as it is appearing in this moment. Nothing is required. You don't need to alter anything. You sink deeper and deeper into presence, which means you're simply being. You're not trying to arrange your experience or analyze it. Not trying to get anything or go anywhere. Everything is unfolding effortlessly. In the space, the space of awareness. Which is not in time. And there is no body. It's one seamless presence. Sensations, thoughts, a seamless flow. Like currents within the ocean. The ocean does not move. I know I am. But this I is awareness. The reality of the mind, the reality of the world. Without borders. like the inhalation and the exhalation are one. The distinction between inhalation and exhalation is a conceptual distinction. Like the distinction between I and not I is a conceptual distinction. Because everything appears within awareness, arising out of awareness and dissolving back into awareness. Without anything happening. We are not going anywhere because we are everywhere. We are not missing anything because we are everything. The oceans, the skies, the birds, the world, the galaxies. One tapestry a gentle flow, like a stream in the forest, gurgling, splashing. To whom? Out of itself, from itself and to itself, playfully, creatively, surprisingly. Each moment a new birth, a new pop, a new gurgle, a new sound. The infinite creativity of consciousness, loving to play, loving to create, loving You don't need to know what you are. The mind cannot know. You already are what you are. This borderless awareness, playful, still, and yet infinitely creative. Not to know, childlike, pristine, clear. And yet, moment by moment, there is a creative response. It somehow flows through us. Mysteriously what is required appears to us out of the infinite. And when we are the flow, no resistance, no personal conditions. We are the flow. We recognize the availability, the creation. We live the infinite possibilities without knowing. And yet we know. When we listen to God's voice, which is everywhere, when we are attuned, meaning when we are not maintaining the past, the future, when we are open to eternity of being, the eternity of now, the eternity of awareness. Awareness is what I am, not an image, not a concept, but the reality of I, the reality of amness. It is that reality which I am, which plays the game of life. So we flow on that magic carpet. We never touch the ground. Like in a dream, like this dream, which I am perceiving, knowing myself to be the reality which perceives, transparent, undeniable. We are the love, the beauty, the peace, complete freedom. That's our essential nature. our reality. So you don't need to maintain the old structures, the old beliefs. They're gone. They're not there. You don't need to download them again. So anything that you would like to discuss or explore, you can turn on your video and audio. Any questions? Any questions? Hello, Holger.
Hello, Magdi. Can you say something about food? How I have an interesting experience since a week. I have some stuff going on. My stomach got emptied, and I'm eating very little right now. And it seems like eating was kind of a lifelong habit to kind of manipulate my feelings in a certain way, or to create a certain self-image. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of, yeah, I actually don't know how to describe it.
I think it's good to examine your relationship with food in terms of the way in which we sometimes use food to hide from something or to seek a certain experience, which is a form of evasion, and to to contemplate your psychological relationship with food. I think as infants, food nutrition is one of the initial ways in which we seek comfort, and we get at the body level as sort of a safety, nourishment. And so it is also, it becomes part of our social in a way we get socially around food, as first as a family and then as friends and culture. I think we all know the experience of eating without hunger as a habit or a pattern of which is, in many cases, our habits of eating so many meals a day, which may not be what the body is asking for, really, but sort of has gotten habituated to. We also have a relationship with taste that sort of has evolved from a more direct taste of the various foods that are available to us on the planet, to more complex spicing and dressing and You know, we many cultures started to import spices from various continents. Like I remember the thyme, in the fennel, in the hills of the mountains of Lebanon, the aroma of the land, the smell of the herbs, growing sumac. I mean, food has like sort of moved from being a means to, in many cases, almost an end, or maybe an overemphasis on what there is eating as celebration and a social, celebrating our social aspect of get together around the various meals and dishes and meze. And it's fun, it's playful. Well, I think it's a good idea to work with food, and simplify your relationship with food. It can be a little challenging to oneself because of the habits and because of the belief we have is that we cannot be without a certain type of food or a certain quantity of food or a certain cadence of food. So it's one of those things that we can explore. I think it's a good thing to explore. I mean, preparation of food is lots of fun. We don't do that too much now. We don't really sort of fast food. We use a fast food. I remember years ago I used to love to bake the breads at home, and I would make breads. So many different types of breads. I used to make granola too. I love to make granola. I used to make also nutritional bars, and I used to mix all these various nutritional bars, balls and all that. And like when you make tomato sauce, you know, the Italian way, it takes you half a day to make the sauce. But then it tastes so wonderful. My mom was a very good cook. She loved to cook. She would spend all day cooking. She wasn't they didn't have cans or things like that. It was all sort of fresh, required lots of labor. I remember years ago, when I was in the Zen tradition, Thursday was a day of fasting. It was interesting to explore that. With the habits of the body and of the mind. I became vegetarian at a young age. It somehow sort of came onto me. And the way we treat the animals, and it's pretty sad. And what we're doing, our foods, they're mass-produced and really awful. How sort of almost quantity over quality. There's a lot of habit, in eating. But the interesting thing is to look at the me, the me as a body, me as a person, me as the animal, me as the beast, human beast. Not too praising, for the human. But yeah, in a way, we are beasts. A lot of animals would think that we are the worst beast that they've encountered,
Magdi,
yeah.
can I jump in here at some point? Is that okay? Just in the middle of the culinary thing, because it actually brings something up.
Okay.
I'd like you to develop maybe a little bit more.
Please, yeah.
Which is the fact that what you're saying is this, like you said something in the beginning of sort of culinary exploration. You were saying something like it's a nice idea to sort of simplify, to have a direct approach, celebrate, etc. There were many pieces you were bringing in, and what I find really would be worth a little exploration is this whole piece of happiness, and how there is a certain, there is a certain hygiene in, it basically is always, it feels like it's always a question of platform. So if I'm on the platform of thinking that that pint of ice cream is going to make me feel better, then I am in the whatever, let's call it the ego mode, the little me mode, which things maybe out of social habit or experience that eating that ice cream will make him or her feel better in that moment. So that's one type of platform. The other platform would be to say, hey, from a larger perspective, I know out of experience that all this sugar and all this chemical colorants and whatever it is in today's ice creams is not going to be conducive to my happiness, to my well-being, etc. So I'm applying a certain hygiene, and I say, hey, lovingly, maybe you get a spoon or maybe 2 spoons, or I wane you off that addiction to ice cream, right? Let's say. So there's another perspective there, which is somewhat of an elevated, wider perspective of that same little ego, let's say a little more evolved ego, a new age ego, right? Who would say, oh, I eat less of that ice cream. It makes me feel better not to eat it, actually, on the long term. And then there is consciousness, which is not dependent on feeling happy as or even healthy as a prerequisite for it, right? So would you speak to all of this a little bit? Because I feel that this whole happiness piece, which seems to be what we're all doing on this planet, is running after happiness and running away from everything which could threaten our happiness, is sort of, you know, the root cause of all the suffering that we are in. So where would you situate the relationship between consciousness and happiness? I think that's sort of the core of my question.
Well,
and you can stay with the culinary example if you want. I don't want to take away from Holger's food thing. So,
well, consciousness is absolute happiness. It's not looking for happiness. But with food, you know, it's one of the ways in which we not only nourish the body, but how we enjoy, we celebrate that aspect of the human dynamic of eating. But it's not a seeking. You know, in enjoyment and seeking are a little bit different. In that enjoyment comes from happiness itself, where seeking comes from a sense of lack or trying to feel something to complement yourself, and it comes from a sense of lack. So
can I jump in there? Because in the very beginning where you started this, I would like to see a little bit more definition or explanation, maybe, because when you say consciousness equals happiness, it's kind of like a classical Advaita thing to say, but it's not really very clear, it feels, because there is happiness which I feel on a sensorial level. Let's say, to go back to Holger, I just ate my amazing Italian homemade pasta sauce, whatever, and there's a sort of contentment, a happiness, a fulfillment, a sensorial happiness which happens.
At the sensory level, when you go to sit by the ocean, you watch a beautiful sunset by the ocean, or you go to listen to a beautiful concert, or you go to museum, or you cook a wonderful meal, or you enjoy a delicious meal. It's a celebration. You could say it is happiness in motion. If you maybe just try to putting words around it. It's happiness in life. It's happiness expressing itself in life. But it's not. There is no seeking in that. There is a enjoyment. You know, when we decide to cook a beautiful meal and to enjoy a meal with friends, this idea comes from a yes. You know, oh yeah, I'd love to. Gonna cook such and such a dish, and call a couple of friends and come over. Well, that idea arises to you not from a place of lack. So therefore, it's coming from a different place. Where is it coming from? Obviously, it's coming from consciousness, but it's not coming from a sense of lack. It's not saying, if I cook a nice meal, if I invite friends, then I will be happy.
Mm-hmm. No, I get. Obviously, I totally get what you're saying.
So I'm making a distinction. I'm making a distinction between consciousness, the source, the happiness, peace and happiness, and its expression.
Right.
I'm only making a conceptual distinction.
Right.
But the key thing is that an activity that comes from a sense of lack, that is seeking something, that must have something, or is looking for something, is not a celebration. Because you may drive 2 hours to go to the sunset, sit by the ocean to watch the sunset, and it can be cloudy. but it wouldn't matter to you. You would say, oh goodness, it's cloudy, I'm not going to see the sunset, but you will enjoy the clouds. You will enjoy, maybe you will just go have a, go for a walk in the neighboring forest or the neighboring hills. You say,
Right.
yes, that's the key thing, is that.
No, je comprends complètement ce que tu dis. I totally understand what you say, but the thing is a little maybe trickier. I don't know, or maybe there's another side to it which I'd like to explore, which is the fact that when you equate consciousness to happiness, and I know that you're talking about the happiness which is beyond the objective attainment coming from the lack of a sense of lack or anything like that, but still you're saying consciousness is happiness.
Yes.
And I wonder, I wonder if, I don't know if that really percolates, because there's many states in my life where there is not a feeling of celebration automatically. I mean, celebration is wonderful when it happens, but there's many moments when it doesn't happen, and there is, whatever, concern about somebody getting sick, or whatever, lack of money, or whatever the situation might be, and yet there is consciousness in that.
Right. I mean,
there's a sense of equanimity, there's a sense of observation, there's a sense of being present to whatever is.
Yes.
And it's not automatically happiness.
Right.
You know what I mean?
When we are, when we decide to go to cook a meal, the enjoyment is across the board. It is in the thought itself, in going to the market, purchasing whatever you're purchasing, in the preparation of the food, in the enjoyment, in the savoring of the food. So it's not like that there is a particular aspect of our experience which is celebratory. Our whole experience is celebratory.
Very good.
Yes. In terms of, when I say that consciousness is happiness, we are happy when there is an absence of desire. Like right now, we are happy. Right now we are happy. But we're not aware that we're happy. We're not saying, "Oh wow, we're here and we're happy." No, because it's like when you wake up in the morning, you feel that you're waking up, but an hour later, you don't realize anymore that you're awake. Or at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're not going, "I'm awake," but because you're awake. Happiness is so subtle that
you're so tricky.
We talk about happiness only because there is a sense of lack, but in the absence of sense of lack, everything is happiness. I mean, right now there's no lack, but we're not saying, "Oh wow, you know what, Shiva, I'm just feeling so happy now." No.
Yeah. I hear you.
But yet we are happy. So happiness is, sometimes we say it's like our natural mind, the natural way of being, in our innate happiness. But we don't even talk about happiness, except we know misery. So we say, "Oh my God," we become miserable. We say, "Where is happiness?" We say, "I'm not happy now. I'm not happy now." And when we say, "I am happy," I am happy means that there is the absence of unhappiness. It's not like there is the presence of happiness. It is more, there is the absence of unhappiness.
Right.
Most of the time, we are experiencing the absence of unhappiness, but it's not like, "Oh, right now I'm experiencing the presence of happiness." No, it is more the absence of unhappiness. But sometimes the absence of unhappiness is more like it's sort of there in sort of, almost like in the background. It's you're okay, but you're not fully okay. You're sort of slightly unhappy, but you are so habituated to the unhappiness, or maybe by eating your way,
right,
or whatever, that you are like that. You're like, so
right.
So then you're wondering, you're still wondering why, because at some level you're still sensing there is something that's in the way,
Right.
So
like a lot of people, and I used to have that too. It's not with me anymore, but for the longest time I had this sort of thing, like, you know, the feeling like the sky is going to fall on your head. The French people say that, you know, the sky is falling on your head, feeling like everything's okay, but you shouldn't be too happy because tomorrow something terrible can happen. So it's this kind of like constant basic awareness of negativity and lack in our, you know, societal structure and our upbringing and everything, and that sort of influences it obviously a lot. I like to say about the absence of, and I think Puntaji said something like that. He said, you don't need anything to be happy, but you need something to be unhappy.
Right. Yes, that's a good way.
Which is a good way of expressing the same thought.
Yes, and what the thing that makes us unhappy is always some form of me wanting something different.
Right.
Oh, this shouldn't be this way. He shouldn't be this way. She shouldn't be this way. My body shouldn't be this way. The world shouldn't be this way, etc. Yeah, but
right. So then we come, because this is the thing I'm pondering, because Rudolf Steiner is obviously like, it's like beginning of the 20th century. So it's a while ago. He was you know, steeped into all sorts of like energetic healing, whatever, all kinds of sorts of things. And I was just, you know, the question was a little bit about this hygiene, so that basically in the moment you are in a given situation, like right now, I can say, hey, I'm celebrating this communication with my beloved Magdi, and everything, and I'm happy just because of the simple fact that there is no unhappiness. But it feels sometimes, I'm just saying, it feels, the impression sometimes is that it needs a little bit of tweaking every once in a while, because there's a maybe inborn, common, whatever the reasons for a tendency of looking at the empty glass rather than looking at the full glass. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, what haunts us in the background is the belief that, the feeling and the belief that I'm some limited self. That's where we're always probing. We're always probing into that belief. And the feeling, not just the belief, of course, the belief we can, but the feeling of being somebody, being something. That because that's somehow what separates us. And it sort of fades, you know, during the day at some time, or even in particular in deep sleep, it fades quite a bit. But throughout our day, our activities is somehow there, lurking. So this is where we look at what is the reality, what is it that is real, you say, and what is it that is belief, you say, because a belief, you know, in a way it's sort of innocent, but not so much, you know. In fact, it's not so innocent, you know. It separates us, and we feel limited, we feel mortal, we feel worried, we feel concerned about our body, we feel concerned about our money, we feel concerned about our future. As what? As the body mind, as embodiment. So there is an identification, you say. And food can be a way in which we can cover up, like you put sand on top of you can cover up the feeling, you know, the feeling of alienation, the sense of angst, the sense of lack, the sense of deep insufficiency. You cover it. We cover it with sometimes workaholic or food or sex or various ways, or thinking, sometimes thinking or dreaming. Just keep sort of thinking of something else. Or commérage, how do you say, gossip? Sometimes we meet, we just talk about this, about that. We just trying to avoid just being, just being. It's a fear-based, but we're so habituated to these sort of activities that we don't notice them. This is why I think when Holger was talking about food, it's a topic among many others that's definitely worth exploring, not just in terms of the health of the body, but in terms of the relationship of me, whatever that is, with food, you see. Because of course, food can be enjoyed, and there is no me relationship. There is just joy. It's just happiness, pleasure, the enjoyment of the taste and the feeling of getting satiated. But in the longer picture, there is in some cases, maybe in many cases, a relationship with food where there is some sense of dependency, not just at the body level, but a psychological dependency, a sense of identity and safety around food. It's a little complex because obviously there is safety around food because the body needs to know that whoever's come to us, it can still eat or drink, so it's, on one hand, there is a logical aspect to feeling safe around food, having the food around and knowing that the food is there and we can eat as much as we want. And on the other hand, there is the possibility of a dependency, a fear-based relationship around food, or a seeking, an attachment to the sensory, and sort of feeling there's even sense of like I shouldn't miss. I don't want to miss. There are some people, I know a couple who cannot miss certain gatherings around food or certain culinary experiences. It's really odd. I remember when I was a young boy, it always surprised. Was a little unpleasant around the food when we sat around the food. My father always wanted to get the best parts, and I noticed that I didn't like it too much. In my relationship with my kids, and I always wanted them to have the best part, whatever that is, somehow I always felt that I'm happy when other people's when others happy around food, specifically around food. So I'm happy when people are happy eating. And anyways, just so Holger.
Yes, some aspect that now becomes more clear. So here in satsang, when we meditate and we allow mind to be empty, it's wonderful. I mean, we enjoy this emptiness of no thought, of just openness. And I had this feeling through my whatever experience they had with my stomach, and everything emptied itself. I never before experienced this physical emptiness.
Yeah.
Because there was always a constant, like a humming, like the mind is always thinking. And so there was always a constant flow of food
Yeah.
occupying the system. And just, this was just a thought, maybe.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to explore. Lesser, to explore a different way with food, and lesser amounts of food, and different types of food. I mean, with Tara, she makes a lot of healthy, light meals, and so I have an opportunity through her to explore this, because I grew up in a family where there's a lot of food. I mean, 6 boys sitting around the table, smaller quantities and enjoyment, to enjoy. It is a balance where you can sort of, ignore your body, and your body can say, okay, I'm good now. But sometimes we say, yeah, you're good, but I'm not good yet. The body is saying I'm good, but I'm not. I want a little bit more. Like I have, for example, a tendency it's a habit of having some dates. Like I could, for example, have eaten, I'm satiated, but then the thought comes to have some dates. So I would eat, 1, 2, 3 dates. And then I say, okay, fine, I can see it. All right, you're going to eat 4, 5, 6 more dates. That's good enough. You had to. And then I notice it's just a habit. It's like not a habit, and at the same time, sort of it's like okay, something will become more complete if I have some dates, But it's BS, right? Obviously, nothing is going to become more complete by having more dates. It's just a habit. So, which I enjoy. I like, the dates. So I say, okay, fine. Well, maybe just a couple of dates, because, when the body is satiated, yeah, you can play a little bit, but just not to overdo it. At least that's my way around it, Yes. So I hear you about the emptiness of emptying the body. Yeah, and it's good to explore that, because they say body mind is really not so separate. I think it's one of the ways in which we can explore our sense of me. It's the multifaceted aspects of the me.
Yeah.
And then there are cultures. I mean, the Middle Eastern culture, when they sit around food, the Lebanese, they sit for a few hours around food. It's a long process of it's a country of abundance because of the mountains and the valleys and the ocean, the Mediterranean Sea. There's a lot of bounty, bounty food. So there's that habit, a lot of all sorts of fruits and vegetables growing, and grains, and so there's
and then
culture.
how wonderful it can be just to eat one apple, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what a taste and the texture, and what a rich experience, what an abundance, and just one little stupid apple.
Yeah.
But we are prepared. I mean, we are empty enough to enjoy it, to acknowledge it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You know, we can also enjoy complex foods, you know. Like,
Yeah.
not to, it's I mean, some meals that are put together and can be very delicious, you know. Like a dal, a good dal, you know, it's a lot of spices in it and it's yummy. But I know what you mean about the apple or a carrot, you know, or a carrot. Yeah. There are infinite ways of celebration when you are in a celebration mode.
Yeah.
When you are in a celebration mode, you know it. You know when you're in a celebration mode. It's coming from a place of an open place, and it's not seeking anything. And not to make a big deal about all of it, you know. I know you're not. I'm just saying. You know.
Yeah. Thank you, Magdi.
Yeah. Okay, Holger. Okay. Okay. Well, very lovely to be with you all. Thank you.
But Magdi, I just want to say thank you. Thank you from my heart for many things, but in specific, some time ago, you talked about the playground, that we make it do or die. But life is it's a playground. Yes. And thank you. Thank you. I have your voice in my head or in my heart. Thank you.
Very lovely. I mean, here we are, children in the playground right here, aren't we?
Children of all ages.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
you. Walter, our poet, artist, friend. Thank you. We love you all. Isaac, Frank, and Grace. Okay. Thank you all. Okay.